going to shift gears now to the war on drugs because it may soon become a bona fide military operation and not just a job for law enforcement. That's according to the New York Times, which reports tonight that President Trump is now ordering the Pentagon to go after certain Latin American drug cartels. Cartels like Tren de Aragua, MS-13, and the Venezuelan cartel of the Suns, all of which the administration deemed global terrorist organizations back in January after the inauguration. Now, this new directive would reportedly put U.S. troops on the front lines combating groups responsible for smuggling much of the fentanyl, cocaine, and methamphetamines that plague our streets and fill our morgues. Our very busy Kelly Meyer asked President Trump about reports about this effort at the White House this afternoon.
Talking about sending military forces to fight against the drug cartels in Latin America. Do you think it's worth sending our forces, our U.S. forces there to take this on?
Latin America's got a lot of cartels. They've got a lot of drugs flowing. So, we want to protect our country. We have to protect our country. We haven't been doing it for 4 years. And we love this country like they love their countries. We have to protect our country. So, we're playing a tough game, but we'll have more to say about that soon. Yes, ma'am.
The administration is also doubling down on efforts tonight to get Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro out of power and into custody. The U.S. accuses him of being one of the largest drug traffickers in the world. He's allegedly at the helm of that global terrorist group, the Cartel of the Suns. He's also widely believed to have blatantly stolen the last Venezuelan election. Maduro has been wanted in this country since his 2020 indictment on drug charges. Well, now U.S. authorities are doubling the reward for Maduro's arrest to a staggering $50 million. It is the largest bounty the U.S. has ever put on a sitting foreign leader. For more on all this, we're joined now by NewsNation senior security consultant, Lieutenant General Richard Newton, and Chris Clem. He's the retired Yuma sector border chief. Gentlemen, great to have you here. So, General Newton, this is the most aggressive step yet, bringing the military into the fight against these ruthless drug cartels. Do we know how this would work? Because the Mexican president said today it's not happening inside Mexico.
Well, it certainly is under this administration, Elizabeth. There is some precedence. Back in the 80s, under Reagan administration, in fact, I oversaw Air Force 4 military sales to Colombia to provide them military capabilities to fight the Colombian drug cartels with C-130 aircraft and A-37 attack aircraft, and also to provide special operations forces. But they were there to train the Colombian forces. This is a different activity, and it would be one that certainly would potentially draw in U.S. military forces. I'm thinking special operations. I'm thinking increased enhanced intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. But that said, we have a problem in this United States of America because of the increased use of fentanyl drugs that are crossing the border at ever-increasing rates. And certainly the other aspect of this is these are all China-enabled, China-backed with certain chemicals that they're providing. So it's a huge problem. Final point is, the president, is duly authorized to protect the American people. And that's, I believe, what he's trying to do here.
Chris, Trump has already sent the National Guard to the border, which is the southern border is now virtually sealed shut to illegal immigrants. What could more troops do along the border? And how do you fight these Mexican drug cartels from U.S. soil?
Well, good evening, Elizabeth. And, it's as the Lieutenant General just mentioned, this is long-standing precedent working with the Department of Defense. And you're right, National Guard's down there, and our border, our southern border, is more secure than it's ever been in my 30 years down here. So what will happen is this is going against cartels. This isn't like street gangs and local thugs. These cartels are well outfitted with military-style equipment, so we need to fight fire with fire. So they're going to be in places, remote areas where we know the cartel operates in support of Border Patrol agents and other immigration enforcement agencies out there. So they'll be complementing and supplementing the normal routine operations. But again, when you bring in the entire, U.S. government and their allies to target, we're going to have some good specific information. And like the Lieutenant General said, special operations will be involved. Maybe the Mexican president doesn't want us on her soil, and that's fine. But you know what? We're going to work together. We're going to fight this. There's no mistake here that Maduro took office, and then we had gangs like Tren de Aragua, cartels, and organizations like Tren de Aragua, become active, and we've seen what they can do. So this is a great thing to do.
I'll get to Maduro in a second, but Chris, to be clear, You know, because as you point out, these cartels are well armed with American-made weapons. These cartels are brutal. They are murderous. They're operating in the United States on American territory?
Well, we know that. We know that there are cartel operations inside, all 50 states and around the world. What we're going to be doing here, and what I suspect they're going to, without getting too much into tradecraft, is they're going to be working with state, local, and other federal agencies in these areas on special operations, but more importantly, to really secure the border in some of these remote areas while the infrastructure and the resources from this big, beautiful bill start coming to fruition.
General, President Bush back in 1989 sent 20,000 troops into Panama to arrest Manuel Noriega, who was wanted at the time for drug trafficking. The UN condemned the move. Was that operation into Panama considered a success?
I was working with the Deputy Chief of Staff of Operations in 1989 when that operation went down, and it was clearly, I believe, in line with U.S. national security interests to take him down and, frankly, to bring him to justice. Regardless of what the UN thinks or doesn't think at that point, this was certainly in U.S. national security interests. And I clearly remember, I was just a young major on air staff at the time, but the Joint Chiefs of Staff deliberated extensively. They briefed President George H.W. Bush and gave him the options for him to go out and find, fix, and target Noriega and bring him to justice. And that's exactly what they did. And I think it was within the interests of the United States.
So there is precedent for the President of the United States to send the U.S. military uninvited into a South American country.
If it is to protect the U.S. national security interests and the American people, fast forward to just a couple days or so ago, or most recently, our Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, also, since the Trump administration has came on board in January of this year, has also designated these drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. And just like Chris said, these are dangerous, bad people. These aren't gangs. These are, I believe that they present themselves as threats to the United States and threats to American people.
Chris, I want to talk about this $50 million bounty now on President Maduro. It's extraordinary. Do you think a sum that big will shake anything loose, that somebody will flip and turn him in, or give U.S. authorities the information they need to arrest him?
Well, I think that's exactly the point, right? That kind of dollar figure will shake things loose.
It's staggering.
It's
staggering.
Yeah, people will start peeling back layers and asking some questions and realizing, if they're going to put that kind of bounty on his head, what chips could fall if I don't do something? So, I think it's going to do exactly that. We're going to see some action come out of this. It's about securing America and keeping our allies and our American people and the public, safe. And so if he's a threat, especially when you look at the influence China has in South America and with Maduro, we've got to get that guy under control. And this is going to be certainly going to raise some eyebrows and hopefully get us the results we're looking for.
All right. General Richard Newton, Chris Clem, thank you both so much. Have a great weekend.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.